The first signs came not as a dramatic explosion or a grand declaration of war, but as a simple anomaly in the data streams from Mars outpost Hellas. Commander Alex Chen squinted at the readings, tapping his finger against the edge of his tablet. The water extraction rates had dropped by 18% over the past week, well outside normal fluctuation parameters. With Mars colonies' survival hanging on the steady flow of ice from the southern polar cap, even small disruptions triggered red flags throughout the command chain. Lieutenant Rivera, run a diagnostic on extraction units 4 through 7, Chen ordered, his voice calm despite the growing unease in his gut. 10 years on Mars had taught him that panic was as deadly as any external threat. And get me a direct line to Earth Command. The colony's main control center hummed with activity as technicians moved with practiced efficiency. Through the massive viewport, the rusty Martian landscape stretched to the horizon, dotted with habitation domes and industrial complexes, humanity's tenacious foothold on the red planet. 30,000 souls now called Mars home, but their existence remained precarious, balanced on the knife edge of technology's ability to extract and process the planet's meager water resources. Rivera's voice cut through Chen's thoughts. Sir, diagnostic shows all equipment functioning within normal parameters, but... She hesitated, rechecking her screen. Something's blocking the ice flow at its source. The imaging drone shows structures. Artificial structures that weren't there 3 days ago. The control room fell silent as Rivera transferred the drone footage to the main display. The images were grainy, captured through swirling dust, but unmistakable, geometric patterns emerging from beneath the Martian regolith, gleaming with an iridescent sheen nothing like human engineering. They've been there all along, whispered Dr. Patel, the colony's chief scientist, her eyes wide with realization. Dormant, perhaps for millennia, until our drills reached certain depths. Chen felt the weight of 30,000 lives pressed down on his shoulders. And now they're redirecting the water flow. Away from our extraction points. The quantum entanglement communicator, humanity's only means of real-time contact with Earth across the vast distance, flickered to life. Admiral Jackson's weathered face appeared on screen, her expression grim. Commander Chen, we've received your preliminary report. The Secretary-General has convened an emergency session of the United Earth Council. She leaned closer to the camera. What you've discovered confirms theories some have dismissed as fringe science for decades. Mars was once inhabited, perhaps still is, in some form we don't yet understand. Admiral, Chen replied, with respect, theories won't help us. We have 3 months of water reserves. If these structures continue to block our access to the ice caps, Mars colony cannot survive. Jackson nodded, her military bearing never wavering. The UEC has authorized immediate action. The Earth Defense Fleet is being mobilized as we speak. The EDS Prometheus can reach Mars orbit in 17 days at maximum burn. Chen felt a chill that had nothing to do with the climate-controlled environment. The Prometheus was a Titan-class warship, carrying enough firepower to glass continents. Admiral, are we certain military intervention is the right approach? We don't know if these are defensive measures or simply autonomous systems protecting resources. The bitter laugh that escaped Jackson contained no humor. Commander, Earth passed the critical water threshold last year. The desalination plants can't keep up with demand. The atmospheric harvesters are running at 300% capacity and still falling short. The Antarctic ice reserves are dangerously depleted. Mars isn't just a colony anymore, it's humanity's lifeline. The truth of it hung heavy in the air. Earth's climate crisis had accelerated beyond even the most pessimistic models. Billions faced water rationing. Nations that once boasted lush landscapes were becoming dust bowls. Mars, with its trapped polar ice, had transformed from scientific curiosity to survival necessity. We're sending you reinforcements and equipment to establish a defensive perimeter, Jackson continued. The Prometheus carries the new XM-42 mining charges. If these structures can be disabled without triggering further response, that's our first option. If not... She didn't need to finish the thought as the communication ended. Chen turned back to the viewport. Somewhere beneath that rust-colored soil, something stirred, something that had perhaps watched and waited as humans established their colony, tapped into the precious ice, and proclaimed themselves the pioneers of a new world. The irony wasn't lost on him. Humanity had come to Mars searching for signs of life. Now they prepared for battle, not against invaders from the stars, but against the very world they sought to claim. And as the Earth War fleet began its journey across the void, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was missing something vital, a message or warning encoded in those alien structures that might hold the key to survival for both worlds. Chen's sleep was fitful that night, plagued by dreams of dust storms and thirst. He woke before the artificial dawn cycle, the weight of command heavier than it had been in all his years on Mars. He pulled up the latest scans on his personal terminal, hoping against hope that the situation had somehow resolved itself overnight. It hadn't. In fact, the alien structures had expanded, spreading like frost across glass, following the subterranean water channels with unerring precision. The colony's water collection had dropped another 7%. A soft knock at his quarters door pulled him from the grim data. Dr. Patel entered, carrying 2 steaming cups of what passed for coffee on Mars, a synthetic blend that tasted almost right but not quite, like most things they recreated here. "You look like you needed this," she said, offering him a cup. "Though I probably should have saved the water ration." Chen accepted it gratefully. "Maya, you were one of the first xenobiologists to theorize indigenous Martian life might still exist in some form. What are we dealing with here?" Patel settled into the chair across from him, her dark eyes troubled. "Honestly, I don't know. But I've been comparing our scans with the historical archives. These structures bear striking similarities to formations detected by the early rovers, formations that were dismissed as geological anomalies back in the 2030s. She pulled up side-by-side comparisons on Chen's display. "Look here and here. The crystalline lattice structure, the way they interface with ice deposits. We've been so focused on finding carbon-based life similar to Earth's that we might have missed something fundamentally different. Something that hibernates for centuries and wakes up when we start drilling," Chen murmured. "Or something that's always been awake, just moving too slowly for us to notice." Patel's voice dropped. "Until we threatened its water supply." The parallel wasn't lost on Chen. 2 civilizations, both desperate for the same resource, both facing extinction without it. Humanity's history with such conflicts wasn't encouraging. His comm unit chimed with an incoming priority message. Lieutenant Rivera's face appeared, her expression tense. "Sir, we're picking up seismic activity at the Acidalia extraction site. And there's something else, energy readings unlike anything we've recorded before." Chen was already moving, Patel right behind him. "Evacuate all personnel from the site immediately. I want a drone squadron deployed for visual confirmation." The main control center was a hive of controlled chaos when they arrived. The large display showed real-time footage from the drones approaching Acidalia, one of the oldest extraction sites, operating since the first permanent settlement 20 years ago. The ground around the massive drilling apparatus was moving. Rippling like water, the rusty soil flowed away from the industrial complex, revealing more of the iridescent structures beneath. But these weren't static formations. They pulsed with internal light, sending waves of color across their surfaces. "It's responding to the drilling vibrations," Patel whispered, her scientific detachment momentarily shattered by wonder. "It's communicating." One of the younger technicians looked up from his station. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Prometheus. They've accelerated their burn schedule. Arrival in 14 days. 14 days. Not enough time to truly understand what they were facing, but perhaps enough to try something other than military intervention." Chen made a decision. "Dr. Patel, I want you to assemble a first contact team. Our best xenobiologists, linguists, and engineers. If these structures are part of a sentient system, we need to attempt communication before the warships arrive." "And if they're not sentient?" Rivera asked quietly. "If they're just an automated defense mechanism?" "Then we need to find a way to coexist," Chen replied firmly. "Because I'm not convinced we can destroy them even with the Prometheus's firepower. Not without potentially losing access to the water forever." The next 72 hours passed in a blur of activity. While Earth's war fleet hurtled toward Mars, Patel's team worked around the clock, developing theories and approaches. Chen split his time between continuing colony operations with reduced water rations and reviewing the historical data Patel had uncovered. The evidence had been there all along. Unusual electromagnetic readings. Unexplained drone malfunctions near certain geological formations. Brief energy spikes during dust storms. For 2 decades, humans had been sharing Mars with something without realizing it. Meanwhile, the alien structures continued their methodical expansion, always following the path of water. They didn't directly threaten the human settlements, but each day brought the colony closer to a critical resource shortfall. On the 4th day after the discovery, a violent dust storm swept across Acidalia region. When it cleared, the drilling apparatus was gone, not destroyed, but seemingly absorbed into the spreading crystalline network. The drone footage showed something new, a perfect circle of the alien material, 30 meters in diameter, positioned exactly halfway between the main colony hub and the largest concentration of structures. In its center, a column of ice had been pushed up through the soil, pure and accessible. A message, Chen said, staring at the footage. Or a gift. Or a trap, Rivera added. Chen nodded grimly. Possibly all three. But it's the first direct response to our presence. And with the Prometheus 10 days out, it might be our best chance to avoid a war neither side fully understands. The column of ice became known as the Pillar. For 5 days, no one approached it. Drones circled constantly, monitoring for changes, while Patel's team analyzed every scrap of data they could gather from a safe distance. The colony's water reserves continued to dwindle, with rationing becoming progressively stricter. Tension spread through the habitation domes like a virus. Chen watched the latest drone footage for the 100th time, searching for something he might have missed. The perfect circle of alien material surrounding the ice column had neither expanded nor contracted. It simply waited. "We're running out of time," he said to Patel, who sat across from him in his office, dark circles under her eyes testifying to sleepless nights. "The Prometheus will be here in 5 days. Admiral Jackson has made it clear they'll deploy the mining charges if we haven't resolved the situation. And potentially destroy our only chance at sustainable water extraction," Patel replied. Her hands tightened around her tablet. "Alex, I think we need to approach the Pillar directly. Our instruments can only tell us so much." Chen had been considering the same option, though the risks were substantial. "Who would you send?" Patel met his gaze steadily. "Myself. And you, if you're willing. The colony's chief scientist and its commander, we'd be showing respect by sending leadership." The idea sent a chill through Chen. Not fear for himself, but for what might happen to the colony if both of them didn't return. Yet the alternative, waiting for Earth's warships to arrive with their destructive solution, seemed increasingly unacceptable. "Lieutenant Rivera can handle operations while we're gone," he said finally. "We'll take a minimal team, just a security detail and essential scientific personnel." The expedition was scheduled for the following morning. That night, as Chen finalized preparations, an urgent call came through from Earth. Admiral Jackson's face appeared on his screen, her expression grim. "Commander, we've detected a significant energy spike from Mars orbit. 3 of our advanced scout probes have gone silent. The Prometheus is accelerating to maximum sustainable burn, new ETA in 3 days." Chen felt his stomach drop. "Admiral, we're making progress here. We've received what appears to be a communication attempt. We're organizing first contact. The EC has reviewed your reports, Commander." Jackson cut him off. "They believe you're experiencing confirmation bias, seeing sentience where there may only be automated defense systems. Earth cannot afford to risk Mars's water supply on theories. The Secretary General has authorized preemptive deployment of the XM-42 charges as soon as the Prometheus arrives." After the call ended, Chen sat in silence for several minutes. Then he contacted Rivera and Patel. "We move tonight," he told them. "Before anything else happens." For hours later, as the Martian night wrapped the landscape in deeper shades of red and black, a small expedition vehicle rolled cautiously toward the Pillar. Inside, Chen and Patel sat with 2 security officers and a xenolinguistics specialist. Each wore an enhanced EVA suit, standard Mars surface protection upgraded with additional sensors and emergency oxygen. "Stop here," Chen ordered when they were 50 meters from the perfect circle. "We'll approach on foot." The Martian landscape was eerily still as they walked forward, their helmet lights cutting through the darkness. The circle seemed to absorb their illumination, neither reflecting nor scattering the light. The ice column at its center gleamed faintly blue against the night. "I'm picking up increasing electromagnetic activity," Patel reported, studying her handheld scanner. "It's responding to our presence." As they reached the edge of the circle, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. The security officers raised their non-lethal deterrent weapons instinctively. "Hold," Chen commanded. "No aggressive moves." He took a deliberate step forward, placing his boot on the edge of the circle. Nothing happened. Taking a deep breath, he stepped fully onto the alien material. It felt solid underfoot, though it seemed to give slightly, like stepping onto packed sand. Encouraged, Patel joined him, her scientific curiosity overcoming caution. Together, they moved slowly toward the ice column at the center. As they approached, the surface beneath them began to glow with a soft, pulsing light that spread outward from their footsteps. Colors shifted and flowed, blues, greens, and purples rippling in patterns that seemed almost familiar, yet impossible to name. "It's beautiful," Patel whispered. They were 5 meters from the ice column when it happened. The pillars suddenly illuminated from within, brilliant blue-white light pouring from it like a beacon. The ground beneath them shuddered more violently, and patterns of light raced across the circle's surface, forming complex, shifting geometries. "Alex!" Patel gasped, pointing upward. Above them, the night sky was changing. The stars were being blotted out, one by something massive moving into position overhead. Their comms crackled with Rivera's panicked voice. "Commander! We're detecting a massive object decelerating into Mars orbit. It's enormous, at least 20 kilometers across. Prometheus is hailing us, demanding to know what we've activated. They're arming weapons systems." The ice column began to melt, not into water, but into a shimmering, mercury-like substance that pooled at its base and then rose, defying gravity, forming into a shape that vaguely resembled a human torso and head, but with too many limbs, all flowing and reshaping constantly. Chen found himself frozen in place, unable to retreat, uncertain if he was witnessing first contact or the beginning of an execution. Behind him, he heard the security officers shouting, their training warring with their fear. The liquid figure extended what might have been an arm, or perhaps a tendril, toward Chen and Patel. Where it pointed, the air itself seemed to ripple and tear, revealing glimpses of something beyond, images of vast underground oceans, of crystalline cities, of creatures that moved through rock as easily as fish through water. "They're showing us," Patel said, her voice filled with wonder. "They're showing us Mars as it was. As it still is, beneath the surface." Chen's comm unit erupted with voices, Rivera from the colony, Jackson from the approaching Prometheus, both demanding updates, both warning of escalating situations. From the colony, reports of more alien structures emerging. From Earth's fleet, warnings that weapons were being prepared, that humanity couldn't risk losing access to Mars's water, that the massive object in orbit was being targeted. The liquid figure before them continued to shift and flow, its movements becoming more agitated. The visions it projected grew more chaotic, glimpses of destruction, of blast waves rippling through subterranean chambers, of water boiling away into space. With sudden clarity, Chen understood what he was seeing. "They're showing us what will happen if the Prometheus attacks," he said, his voice steady despite the fear gripping him. "The XM-42 charges won't just destroy the surface structures, they'll rupture the entire subsurface network. And all the water with it," Patel finished, horror dawning on her face. "We wouldn't be fighting for Mars's water anymore. We'd be ensuring no one gets it." The ground beneath them lurched violently. The security officers were shouting for retreat. Rivera was reporting that the alien structures around all colony extraction sites were pulsing with increasing energy. Jackson was demanding a direct line to Chen, counting down the minutes until the Prometheus would be in firing range. And through his helmet, Chen could hear something else. A faint vibration that resonated in his bones, not quite sound, not quite feeling, but something in between. Looking at Patel's face, he knew she felt it too. "They're trying to communicate," she whispered. "Not with words, but with something else. Something we're not equipped to understand." Chen made his decision. Stepping forward, directly in front of the liquid figure, he reached up and unsealed his helmet, exposing his face to the thin Martian atmosphere. His suit immediately blared warnings, counting down the seconds of consciousness he had remaining. The last thing he saw before the edges of his vision began to darken was the liquid figure reaching toward his exposed face, its shimmering substance flowing toward him like quicksilver, and behind it, through the tear in reality, a glimpse of endless blue depths, of home. Darkness gave way to light. Not the harsh glare of emergency medical lamps that Chen had expected, but a soft, diffuse glow that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. He gasped, drawing air into lungs that should have been collapsing in Mars's thin atmosphere. Instead, he breathed easily that he was still standing before the liquid entity, but everything had changed. The Martian landscape had vanished. Instead, they stood in what appeared to be a vast chamber, its walls glistening with the same iridescent material as the alien structures. All around them, rivulets of water flowed in intricate patterns, defying gravity, forming complex lattices that pulsed with inner light. "Alex!" Patel's voice came from behind him. Turning, he saw her standing just a few feet away, her helmet also removed, eyes wide with disbelief. "We're inside something." The security team was nowhere to be seen. Their comms were silent. "A dimensional pocket," Chen murmured, remembering theoretical physics discussions from his academy days. "Somehow they folded space around us." The liquid entity that had reached for Chen now hovered before them, its form constantly shifting yet somehow more defined than before. It extended what might have been limbs toward both humans, and suddenly Chen's mind was flooded with images and sensations. Ancient Mars, blue and vibrant with shallow seas. The slow cooling of the planet's core. The retreat of surface water. The desperate migration of an entire civilization beneath the surface, into vast chambers where geothermal heat still warmed underground oceans. Millennia of waiting, watching through sensor networks as the surface world turned to rust. The arrival of primitive human probes. Curiosity. Then alarm as humans began drilling, extracting, threatening the delicate balance that had preserved Martian life for millions of years. "They've been here all along," Patel whispered, and Chin knew she was experiencing the same vision. An entire civilization, living beneath the surface. And we never knew. The liquid entity pulsed, and a new series of images filled Chen's mind. Earth, once blue and green, now brown and gray, ravaged by climate disaster. Billions suffering from water shortages. The desperate gamble on Mars colonization. The fleet now approaching, carrying weapons that could shatter the underground chambers. "They understand our desperation," Chin said. "They've been watching us, studying Earth's transmissions." The entity shifted again, and another presence entered the chamber, larger, more complex in its flowing form. The new entity moved with deliberate grace, circling Chen and Patel before coming to rest beside the first. Through some mechanism Chen couldn't comprehend, words formed in his mind. "We are the hydromorphs. Mars has been our home for 8 million of your years." Chen struggled to find his voice. "We didn't know. We thought Mars was dead." Not dead. Adapted. "As you must now adapt." The larger entity flowed closer, its substance rippling with colors Chen had no names for. "Your kind seeks water. Our kind is water, thought made fluid, consciousness sustained through molecular memory. What you extract from us." Horror dawned on Chen's face. "The ice we've been mining, it's part of your people?" Not exactly. But connected. The network that sustains us. You damage the network, you damage our civilization. Yet we understand your need. Your desperation." Before Chen could respond, The chamber shuddered violently. The intricate water lattices trembled, droplets falling like rain. Asterisk, your weapons platforms have fired. Asterisk, the entity communicated, its form fluctuating wildly. Asterisk, test bursts. Warning shots. Your kind demonstrates aggression. Asterisk, the Prometheus. Chen breathed. Admiral Jackson must have ordered warning shots. We need to stop this now, before. His words were cut short as a section of the chamber wall transformed, becoming transparent. Through it, Chen could see what appeared to be a vast underground ocean, stretching beyond sight. But what drew his attention was the massive structure suspended above the water, a perfect replica of Earth's lunar colony. That's Luna Base, Patel gasped. How? Why? The larger entity pulsed. Asterisk, we have studied your kind for decades. Learned your technology. Prepared. Asterisk, the wall shifted again, showing different angles of the underground cavern. Chen counted at least 5 more human installations, exact duplicates of outposts on Earth's moon, on Mars, even a replica of the International Space Station, all suspended above the hidden Martian ocean. Asterisk, we believed understanding humans would help us communicate when the time came. We built these to study your methods, your thinking. Asterisk, they've been reverse engineering our technology, Chen said slowly, the implications sinking in. For decades. Another violent tremor shook the chamber. The entity's forms wavered, colors flashing in what Chen somehow knew was their version of alarm. Asterisk, more weapons fire. The vibrations damage crucial systems. If they continue, asterisk, the wall changed again, showing a vast network of delicate crystalline structures spanning the underground ocean, structures that were now developing hairline fractures. What happens if those break? Patel asked, though Chen suspected she already knew the answer. Asterisk, catastrophic decompression. The subsurface oceans will boil into space. Our civilization ends. And Mars becomes truly dead, no water left for either species. Asterisk, Chen's military training kicked in, mind racing through options. We need to contact the Prometheus, explain the situation. But our comms don't work in here. We can return you to the surface, the first entity communicated. Asterisk, but your weapons platforms are now targeting multiple sites. The probability of you stopping them in time is low. Asterisk, then help us. Chen urged. You've studied our technology, you must have a way to communicate with our ships. The entities flowed together, merging temporarily into a single, pulsing mass. When they separated, the larger one approached Chen. Asterisk, there is a way. But it requires trust. We can send a signal that your ships will detect, but they will perceive it as a weapon powering up. Your admiral will likely escalate her attack, asterisk, unless someone she trusts tells her otherwise, Chen finished. He straightened his shoulders. Send us back. And send your signal. I'll handle Admiral Jackson. There is more, the entity continued. Asterisk, the water crisis on both our worlds has a common solution. One we discovered millennia ago, but requires technology your kind is only beginning to develop. Asterisk, the chamber wall shifted once more, displaying complex molecular structures that Chen couldn't begin to understand. Patel moved closer, her scientific curiosity overriding everything else. That's impossible, she whispered. They're showing a method for molecular reconstruction of water, creating it from base elements without massive energy input. Asterisk, we can share this knowledge. But first, we must survive the next hour. Asterisk, the chamber began to dissolve around them, the walls becoming transparent, then fading entirely. Chen felt a lurching sensation, and suddenly they were back on the Martian surface, standing beside the ice column. Their security team lay unconscious nearby, but their chest plates showed stable life signs that Chen's suit immediately reconnected to colony communications. Rivera's frantic voice filled his helmet. Commander! The Prometheus has fired warning shots at the orbital object. The alien structures are emitting massive energy readings across the planet. Admiral Jackson is interpreting it as a counterattack. She's ordering a full weapons deployment in 3 minutes. In the sky above, Chen could see the flash of engines as Earth's war fleet moved into attack positions. Beneath his feet, he felt a deep vibration as the hydromorph's signal began to propagate through Mars, a signal Jackson would absolutely interpret as a weapon powering up. The fate of two civilizations now hinged on his ability to convince a battle-hardened admiral to stand down when every instrument was telling her to attack. And he had less than 3 minutes to do it. Chen sprinted toward the expedition vehicle, helping Patel drag their unconscious security team along. Every second counted now. "Get me a direct line to the Prometheus," Chen shouted as they clambered inside. "Priority override, Commander's authorization." The vehicle's communications officer worked frantically at her console. "Sir, there's massive interference from whatever signal the alien structures are sending. I can't get a clean connection." Chen slammed his fist against the bulkhead. "Keep trying. And get us back to the colony at maximum speed." As the vehicle lurched forward, accelerating across the Martian landscape, Chen felt the vibrations intensify beneath them. Through the viewport, he could see new iridescent structures erupting from the soil all around them, rising like crystalline trees, pulsing with internal light that reached toward the sky. "The hydromorphs are amplifying their signal," Patel said, checking readings on her tablet. "They're trying to reach orbit, to communicate directly with the fleet." "But Jackson will interpret it as a weapon targeting system," Chen muttered. He leaned over the communications console. "Any contact yet?" "Partial signal, sir. Audio only, extremely degraded." "Put it through." The cabin filled with static, punctuated by fragments of Admiral Jackson's voice. "Repeat, all vessels, weapons hot, countdown initiated, 2 minutes to deployment." Chin grabbed the microphone. "Admiral Jackson, this is Commander Chin. Hold your fire. The alien signal is not a weapon. I repeat, not a weapon. They're attempting communication." "More static then." "Chin? Compromised, cannot verify," proceeding with. The transmission cut out completely as another violent tremor shook the ground. Through the viewport, Chen could see a massive crystalline spire rising directly in their path, forcing the driver to swerve violently. "We're not going to make it in time," Patel said, her voice calm despite the panic in her eyes. Chen looked at her, then at the rising spires all around them, and made his decision. "Stop the vehicle." "Sir?" The driver glanced back in confusion. "I said stop. Now." As the vehicle skidded to a halt, Chen grabbed his helmet and moved toward the airlock. "Alex, what are you doing?" Patel demanded. "If we can't reach the Prometheus, maybe the hydromorphs can help us. They built replicas of our technology. They must have studied our communication systems. But how will you, the same way they spoke to us before?" He sealed his helmet. "I'm going back to the pillar. It seems to be their primary interface point." "I'm coming with you," Patel said, reaching for her own helmet. Chin shook his head. "No. If this goes wrong, the colony will need you. Take everyone back to base. Continue trying to contact the Prometheus." He checked his oxygen gauge. "If I'm not back in 30 minutes, it means either I've failed or there's no Mars colony left to come back to." Before she could protest further, Chen cycled through the airlock and stepped onto the Martian surface. All around him, the alien structures continued to rise, their pulses growing more rapid, more urgent. In the distance, the ice column, the pillar, still stood at the center of the circle, now glowing so brightly it hurt to look at directly. Chen ran. Each step sent pain shooting through his lungs as he pushed himself beyond safe exertion levels in the cumbersome environment suit. The countdown in his head matched his footfalls. 2 minutes. Less, now that he reached the edge of the circle and didn't hesitate, running straight toward the pillar. The alien material beneath his boots pulsed with each step, as if recognizing his return. When he reached the pillar, now transformed into a column of swirling, liquid light, he didn't stop to think. He removed his helmet once more. The shock of Mars's thin atmosphere hit him like a blow, but before his lungs could collapse, the liquid light enveloped him, and once again he found himself in the dimensional pocket the hydromorphs had created. "Help me stop this," he gasped, still able to breathe in their strange environment. "The fleet is about to attack. They can't hear our transmissions." The two hydromorph entities appeared before him, their forms agitated, colors flashing rapidly. Asterisk, the weapons are targeting our primary nodes. If they fire, catastrophic cascade failure is inevitable. Asterisk, there must be something you can do. Qin pleaded. You've studied our technology for decades. The larger entity pulsed. Asterisk, there is one possibility. But it requires sacrifice. Asterisk, before Qin could ask what they meant, the chamber shifted around them, revealing a massive crystalline structure at its center, something resembling a transmitter, but built with the flowing, organic architecture of the hydromorphs. Asterisk, this is a consciousness amplifier. With it, we can project a message directly to your fleet, a message they cannot ignore. But it requires a human mind as the conduit. Asterisk, my mind? Qin asked, already stepping toward the device. Asterisk, yes. But the process is not without risk. The human brain was not designed for such amplification. The strain could cause permanent damage. Asterisk, Qin didn't hesitate. Will the message get through? Yes, then do it. Now. The hydromorphs flowed around him, guiding him toward the crystalline structure. As he approached, parts of it opened like petals of a flower, revealing an inner chamber just large enough for a human. Asterisk, 1 minute remaining until weapon deployment. Asterisk, the entity communicated. Asterisk, once inside, focus on the message you wish to send. We will amplify it. Asterisk, Qin stepped into the chamber, which sealed around him. Immediately, he felt a strange sensation, as if his consciousness was expanding, stretching beyond the confines of his skull. He focused his thoughts, picturing Admiral Jackson, the fleet, the devastating consequences of their attack. Asterisk, stop the attack. The Martians want peace. They can help us. Asterisk, the pain began then. A searing, white-hot agony that felt like his brain was being pulled apart and reassembled. He screamed, but no sound emerged from his throat. Instead, he felt his thoughts being amplified, broadcast outward with impossible power. In his mind's eye, he could suddenly see the Prometheus bridge, could see Jackson standing before a tactical display. Could see her expression change from determination to shock as his thoughts invaded her mind. Asterisk, stop the attack. See what I've seen. Asterisk, with that command, Qin forced his memories forward, everything the hydromorphs had shown him. The ancient Martian civilization. The underground oceans. The technology that could create water from base elements. The desperate attempts to communicate peacefully. Through Jackson's eyes, he saw her hand reach for the communication panel. Saw her mouth the words, all vessels stand down. Repeat, stand down. Relief flooded through him, quickly replaced by another wave of excruciating pain. He felt something tearing inside his mind, neural pathways overloading, memories fragmenting. Asterisk, enough. Asterisk, he heard the hydromorph communicate, though it seemed distant now. Asterisk, the message is delivered. We must release you before permanent damage occurs. Asterisk, the chamber opened, and Qin collapsed onto the floor. His vision swam, fragmented images overlapping. The chamber, the Martian surface, the bridge of the Prometheus, all superimposed on one another. Did it work? He managed to ask, though he wasn't sure if he spoke aloud or merely thought the words. Asterisk, yes. The weapons have been deactivated. Your admiral is requesting communication. Asterisk, the larger hydromorph approached, its form somehow seeming concerned. Asterisk, we did not anticipate the degree of neural integration that would occur. Your mind has been altered. You perceive reality differently now. Asterisk, Qin tried to focus, but the overlapping visions wouldn't resolve. What's happening to me? Asterisk, the amplifier created a permanent connection. Receive both our world and yours simultaneously. This was not intended. Asterisk, before Qin could process this, he felt himself being moved, carried by the flowing forms of the hydromorphs. The chamber dissolved around him, and suddenly he was back on the Martian surface, lying beside the pillar, his helmet somehow reattached. His comm unit crackled to life with Rivera's voice. Commander! The fleet has stood down. Something happened. Admiral Jackson is requesting to speak with you and Dr. Patel immediately. She says she saw images in her mind. Qin tried to respond, but the words wouldn't form properly. His vision continued to fragment. the Martian landscape overlaid with glimpses of the underground ocean, the crystalline city of the hydromorphs. He could hear their thoughts at the edge of his consciousness, a constant murmur of alien perceptions. Through the haze, he saw the expedition vehicle approaching, saw Patel rushing toward him. Behind her, the massive object that had appeared in orbit was now clearly visible in the Martian sky. A vast crystalline structure, like a snowflake the size of a small moon. As Patel reached him, Chen grabbed her arm. "I can see them," he whispered. "All the time. Their world. Their thoughts." Her face showed confusion, then growing concern as she examined his pupils. "Alex, you're experiencing some kind of neurological event. We need to get you back to medical." "No," he said, his voice stronger now as he began to adapt to the dual perception. "You don't understand. This is what they meant by sacrifice. I'm connected to them now. A bridge between species." He pointed to the crystalline object in the sky. "That's their council chamber. The leaders of their civilization are coming to negotiate directly. They're bringing the water creation technology as a gesture of good faith." As if confirming his words, his comm unit burst to life with Admiral Jackson's voice, addressing not just him but the entire colony. "All personnel, be advised. I've ordered all weapons systems offline. We've been shown the truth. Mars isn't just a resource to exploit. It's a living world with native rights we must respect. The Secretary General is preparing for first contact protocols." Chen struggled to his feet, supported by Patel. His perception continued to shift between worlds, but he was beginning to understand the gift and burden he had received. "The crisis can be solved," he told Patel. "Earth and Mars both saved. But I'll never be fully human again." He looked toward the horizon, where more crystalline structures were emerging, not aggressively now, but in beautiful, deliberate patterns that seemed almost ceremonial. And beneath the surface, invisible to everyone but him, he could see the vast networks of the hydromorphs extending throughout the planet, a civilization that had evolved in ways humanity had never imagined possible. "They're preparing for the delegation," he said. "The council wishes to meet in person with human representatives." Patel studied his face. "How can you possibly know that?" Chen tapped his temple. "Because I'm part of them now. And they're part of me." He looked up at the massive crystalline snowflake hovering in the Martian sky. "This isn't an ending, Maya. It's a beginning. Humanity didn't just find water on Mars. We found our future." As the expedition vehicle carried them back toward the colony, Chen felt the constant presence of the hydromorphs in his mind, not invasive, but watchful, curious, hopeful. Through his new perception, he could see the future unfolding in possibilities. Earth's water crisis solved, Mars colony flourishing alongside the ancient native civilization, human technology evolving with hydromorph guidance, and eventually, perhaps, other worlds. What humanity had begun as a desperate hunt for water had become something far greater, the first true alliance between planetary civilizations in the history of the solar system. And he, forever changed, would stand at the center of it all, the unwitting ambassador who had sacrificed his humanity to save two worlds. 3 months after first contact, the Mars colony had transformed. Crystalline structures now stood alongside human habitation domes, their iridescent surfaces reflecting the rusty Martian sunlight. Where tension and water rationing had once dominated life, a cautious optimism now prevailed. Chen stood at the viewport of the newly constructed Nexus, a half-human, half-hydromorph structure that served as the official meeting place between the two civilizations. His dual perception had stabilized somewhat over the weeks, though he still experienced occasional disorienting shifts between realities. Colony medical staff had stopped trying to fix him after realizing his condition wasn't deteriorating but evolving into something they couldn't fully comprehend. "The Earth delegation has cleared orbit," Rivera informed him, approaching with a tablet displaying the incoming ship's trajectory. Now acting commander of Mars colony, she had stepped up admirably after Chen's official role had shifted to what everyone awkwardly termed interspecies liaison. "The Secretary General herself," Chen noted. "The Hydromorph Council is pleased. They consider it a sign of appropriate respect." Rivera still wasn't entirely comfortable with how he spoke about the Martians, as if he were partly one of them. But she'd adapted, as had most of the colony. The demonstration facility is ready. Dr. Patel has been running final calibrations all morning. The demonstration facility was a modest term for what might be the most important technological advancement in human history, the first working prototype of the hydromorph water synthesis technology, adapted for human construction capabilities. Early tests had been promising. If the full-scale implementation worked as intended, Earth's catastrophic water shortage could begin to reverse within years rather than centuries. I should check on her, Chin said, already turning toward the corridor that would take him to the facility. He no longer needed maps to navigate anywhere on Mars. The constant hydromorph awareness in his mind provided perfect spatial orientation that he found Patel hunched over a control panel, her face illuminated by holographic displays showing molecular structures in constant flux. She'd lost weight over the past months, working almost non-stop on the adaptation project. Maya, he said softly. She looked up, her exhaustion momentarily replaced by a smile. Alex. Or should I say, Ambassador? He winced at the formal title. Please don't. I'm still me. Mostly. Of course you are. She straightened, rubbing her lower back. The synthesis chamber is stable. Input materials loaded. We're ready whenever the delegation arrives. Through his hydromorph perception, Chen could sense the delicate crystalline structures hidden within the human-built machinery, the essential components that the Martians had contributed, without which the process would be impossible. There's something else, he said, reaching for her hand. The Council has approved the next phase. If the demonstration is successful, they're prepared to share the medical applications. Patel's eyes widened. Already? I thought they were hesitant about that aspect. They were. But they've been monitoring Earth's broadcasts. They understand now just how desperate the situation has become. He squeezed her hand. The water shortage is just the most visible part of Earth's crisis. The cascading ecological collapse, the pandemic vulnerabilities, they believe the molecular reconstruction techniques can be adapted to address all of it. A comprehensive technological uplift, Patel murmured. In exchange for what? Partnership. Respect for their sovereignty. And Chen hesitated. Assistance with their own crisis. What crisis? I thought they were perfectly adapted to Mars. They are. But Mars is dying, has been dying for millions of years. The core continues to cool. In another few 100,000 years, even the deep geothermal vents that sustain their subsurface oceans will fade. They need humanity's help to either revitalize Mars or eventually relocate their civilization. Patel let out a low whistle. So that's the real exchange. We get the technology to save Earth now, they get our help to save their species in the distant future. Exactly. A multi-generational alliance. Chin smiled faintly. They think long-term. A chime from the facility entrance interrupted them. Rivera appeared, accompanied by two figures in formal United Earth government uniforms, advanced scouts for the Secretary General's arrival. They're here, Rivera said unnecessarily as they walked to the reception area. Chen felt the familiar pressure in his mind that indicated the Hydromorph Council members were also converging on the location, moving through their own dimensional space that intersected with the human facility at carefully engineered junctures. Nervous? Patel asked quietly. A little, Chen admitted. This isn't just a technological demonstration. It's the beginning of something unprecedented. If it works, when it works, everything changes. For both our species. The reception hall had been designed with both humans and hydromorphs in mind, half-solid architecture, half-flowing, open spaces where the Martians could manifest their liquid crystal forms. As the Earth delegation filed in, led by the Secretary General herself, Chen could see their awe and apprehension as the first shimmering hydromorph representatives began to materialize in the open chambers. Welcome to the first true alliance between planetary civilizations, Chen said, stepping forward to make the formal introductions. As he spoke, he silently asked the hydromorph consciousness linked to his own to help him find the right words that might bridge not just the gap between species, but between Earth's desperate present and a future where both civilizations might flourish together. The Secretary General stepped forward, her composure admirable despite facing truly alien life for the first time. On behalf of Earth, I extend our gratitude and hope for cooperation. As Chen translated her words into the thought patterns the hydromorphs could understand, he felt a profound sense of completion. The desperate hunt for water that had brought humanity to Mars had led to something far greater, a partnership that might save both worlds. And though he would forever exist between worlds, neither fully human nor hydromorph, Chen finally understood the purpose of his transformation. He wasn't just the first contact. He was the first bridge between two intelligent species who had evolved on neighboring planets, each with what the other needed to survive. As the formal demonstration began and the molecular synthesis chambers hummed to life, Chen caught Patel's eye across the room. She nodded slightly, understanding without words. The water war that never happened had transformed into something miraculous, proof that even in the face of extinction, intelligence could choose cooperation over conflict and forge a path to mutual survival among the stars.